Hello and what's up for another deck tech, or not a deck tech, but first we have a spoiler, black card spoilers that we're to discuss for the day's topic. And as you can see here, I've chosen some of the few you can say that are notables. We won't really try to delve all of the black cards that was previewed in the set for March of the Machines, but rather we'll check on what would be our potentials in terms of having these cards played in Standard, Pioneer, Modern, and other formats in the game. So we're going to start with this one. As you know, the battle cards has been introduced in this expansion, and we're going to go with the Invasion of Syndicar. This card is a 4-cast Battle Siege with its ability that when it enters the battlefield, target creature and opponent controls gets minus 13, minus 13. So going to reminds me of Tragic Sleep, and at the same time you can play it at instant speed because of the flash. And as you go again with the battle, the type Siege enters the battlefield, choose an opponent to protect it, and you and others can attack it. When it's defeated, you can cast the other side of it, transform. So you have to you need to basically deal 5 damage to be able to destroy or defeat this battle, and ordered for it to be flipped. So what is its flip form? In case we have this card, the Deluge of the Dead. So Deluge of the Dead is basically a free card to cast, but remember that its converted mana cost, if for certain situations, would be the other side. The flip side, the Invasion of Innistrad. And this card enters the battlefield. You will create two black zombie creature tokens, which are enchantment. So you can also pay for this ability, wherein you can pay 2 colorless or any color and black. Exile target card from graveyard. If it was a creature card, you will create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. But the good thing here is that these tokens are not basically the decayed ones as introduced in the previous Innistrad Midnight Hunt and Crimson Bow set. So the creatures would basically stay in the battlefield longer. They can attack as much as they do as they can, and can basically trade off or can be able to block off other creatures that your opponents may have to attack you. So this would be a very good card to include in a specifically deck tech for this build. But basically going with the mono black version would be the default setup on this. We'll have a quick deck tech after this one. And for our next topic for this card to highlight is the version of Shieldred. So Shieldred has now been added, or you can say in the lore, is not a Praetor anymore. So just name her Shieldred. No other attached titles whatsoever. So she's a 5-cast legendary creature, Persian Praetor. 5-cast for 4/5 in menace. When it enters the battlefield, you will have each opponent sacrifice an untoken creature or planeswalker. So you also have this option to have her exiled by paying 4 of any color or colorless in black. Exile Shieldred, return it to battlefield, transform until it's under control, and activation only a sorcery and only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in the graveyard. So basically you can have this one in a mill kind of deck, since activation or sorcery is not really that of a drawback, but you need to have your opponent have 8 or more cards in the graveyard to be able to satisfy this condition. So what will be its look on the other side if you're able to flip this one, transform? So Shieldred will become a enchantment saga. So this one is the true scriptures, as we say. It's an battlefield, the same as what typical sagas would do. You will have to add lore counters on it, and after your draw step you will also add another one. For the first lore counter, for each opponent, destroy up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Okay, so another spot removal effect. Then for the second lore counter, each opponent discards 3 cards and build 3 cards. So another way to have the more cards in the graveyard. So that's basically 6, provided they have 3 or more cards from your hand, and also they have enough, still have enough cards in the library. And then you may put all creature cards from all graveyards into the battlefield under your control. That is for the third lore counter. Those creature cards from all graveyards. So that's very good, and probably just a back-breaking instant win effect. And then you will have to exile 2 scriptures and then return it to the battlefield. That is for the front face up. So we'll have again shouldered back into play after your third lore counter. So pretty much very good card, very efficient, but how you would play out its ability would really depend on how the deck or your build around deck would look like, and how the list other cards components would be having. So other cards that I consider here, we have Terror Tovashi. This is the extended art version. He is another ogre. Sadly, he is not a demon per the setup for the demon kind of collection for tribal. So Tovashi Terror is a 4 to cast 4/3 death touch. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 3 in black to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and that creature becomes a correction in addition to the starter types. I've seen another card preview from this set that they're considering a tribal correction because it has this ability that can have all corrections you control gets +1/+1, and Terror Tovashi would really fit here because he could be able to reanimate some of the creatures for your lineup that are basically killed early on, or they're still discarded to your graveyard from your hand. So another option here, you can just basically have a good mana sink late game, and also a good 4/3 death touch that can basically trade out to other creatures, to other strong creatures that has no regeneration whatsoever. Another card to consider here is Pileon. So Pileon is just a convoke instant. So we know convoke is back in the in standard. So it's 4 to cast instant. When convoke, you can pay creatures by your tapping the then to have to pay for its mana cost. So its ability is that you can destroy target creature or planeswalker and then surveil too. This works well, I think, if I'm having to have a deck for, let's say, a mono black aggro, or let's say a black red aggro. You can have at least 1 or 2 copies of this in the deck, since you have similar creatures that can pay off for the convoke cost. The drawback here is though is that there are situations that you might need to hard cast this one for 4, but the good thing is that it is with the instant speed, so casting out basically, and can be able to deal any creature or planeswalker at your disposal on this effect. So for the next discard step, we have a Traumatic Revelation. So this is another form of a common discard spell, but its effect is just very unique because you may have to have them discard a creature or battle card from your hand, but if they don't, you can have to incubate 3. So incubating is to have an incubator token with 3+1 counters in it, and you can pay 2 colorless or any color to transform this artifact into a 0/0 correction artifact creature token. So a good thing, two options. You can have a 2 to cast incubated creature that you can pay to for having a 3/3 creature, or you can have to discard your best creature at the moment, so that they won't be able to expand or develop their board. At the same time, have to get you the good information from their hand, so that they would be able to know what would be your next gameplay after that. And I think this would be second to the last card. We have still 2 more to discuss. So Gift of Completion. Again, this is just an enchantment wherein you can enters the battlefield. You have the option to incubate for 3. That is incubating for again the incubator token with 3+1/+1 counters, and after that, it is the option that whenever a correction you control dies, surveil 1. So this works well to gear up with the correction kind of tribal deck, and also giving you an option. So that basically gives you a free creature, and at the same time, it's not really that of a cardo effect, but just a good way to surveil to fill up your graveyard, or have those extra creatures added to your graveyard. At the same time, gives you the option to draw into your best cards or other best options from your deck. So this would I would recommend this one to go with the we can say that it is more of a tribal correction deck to fit, and maybe 1 or 2 copies would be added for the main deck as a bonus, since it can also generate a creature of its own. So you can consider this one as a dual value of getting your surveil effects, at the same time gets you a 3/3 incubator token that transforms into a correction artifact creature. And last but not least, before we go with the deck tech, is our Render Inert. This is an uncommon card, but I'm having to discuss this one and share this with you guys. An interesting deck list that we'll have on this video because of its ability that could be able to remove up to 5 counters from target permanent. So how do you do this? Sort of we can say this one as a standard combo now that is new in the set with the upcoming March of the Machines. So not only removing counters from target permanent, but means that you can remove counters from a creature, a planeswalker. You can kill off a planeswalker basically with this ability and also get your card. And what the deck that we're going to show to guys is this one, the mono black Dross because of the icon card or our mascot card here, Archfiend of the Dross. As you may again, it has 4 counters, that is 4 oil counters. It has this ability that beginning of upkeep you may remove an oil counter from it, and then if it has no oil counters, you will lose the game. So how do we do this? That you would have your opponent lose the game via this ability. So if you remembered, we can have this deck list, just an initial deck list with a sort of a 3-card combination. We have this Surrender Inert, and of course this card from Brothers War, that is Faithful Handoff. This is a for to cast sorcery wherein you will draw cards equal to its mana value of a target artifact or creature control, and then your opponent gains control of that permanent. So we'll just basically draw 4 in the hopes also of drawing your Inert, and then give off the Archfiend of the Dross to your opponent. So it's not really that hard. We can say that we have to have several ways to set up on this combo, but given for example that you proceeded already in the late game, you have 7 mana, you can use Faithful Handoff to target your Archfiend of the Dross and then use the remaining mana to render Inert. You remove up to 5 counters. That means that you can choose 2, 3, or 4 counters to remove. So in this case, you need to remove 3 counters. For given that you have 4 counters on Archfiend, that also depend. For example, if it has 3 counters, you need to remove 2. If it has 2 counters already, you need to remove only 1. Because you would need to have this one triggered, the last remaining oil counter will be removed first, and then it will then check. Then if it has no counters with that, the loose game will then trigger on that one. So how you would validate or you would set this up, this game strategy would just depend probably in more of the mid game or late game scenario. But early on, you can just go with the traditional mono black beatdown with these creatures. We have several choices here. Of course, these are the standard creatures of a mono black aggro deck. Evil Sleeper, this or Glass Program, used again for Vixie's matchups. Tenacious Underdog also, very good 2-drop and recurring. Card draw effects with Geeks, Yawgmoth Freighter. Graveyard Dispatcher, also a very good 3-drop that deals with graveyard shenanigans. And of course our Archon mascot or Archfiend of the Dross. I can just go with a traditional beatdown of 6 damage in the air, if ever, and then you'll just use your spot removals to deal with it in case that you would not be able to draw your combo. And we also have Shieldred again, so more card draws effects on Shieldred. You will gain 2 life for each card draw, and also a good 4-drop. Protection Face Gorger for your 3-drop, and also can be used later on for the 7-drop for a 7/5. And of course the spot removals were very much given, cut down, go for the throat, a single Lane of the Veil, and a single Invoke Despair, which also gives us the option to go with just straightforward mono black strategy if needed. And of course 24 lands at our disposal. I'm not really going to attest that this will be an effective gameplay with the giving of hand off your Archfiend of the Dross to your opponent, but it's very interesting to get this one pulled off in a typical standard gameplay. And I think if ever this one would be released now in the March of the Machines becomes legal and standard, I would really have to do this option to try this one in a deck. Not really going well with maybe 4 copies of this, but maybe lesser copy, but more of the deck being flexible so that you can be able to still go with the traditional gameplay value even in the late game if ever the combo will not really go to your favor. So I guess that's about it for this preview. We have some good all red black cards, I mean, for you can use for this deck, and also we can have some more options later on to be able to have more deck list, more deck text, as we may say, as long as the new cards are then be revealed and probably the full spoilers for March of the Machines is out in published or probably published online. So that's basically it, guys. Thank you for watching this somewhat a very long video for our deck techs and card spoilers for March of the Machines. See you guys in the next one, and don't forget to like and subscribe.